Hi, welcome to A Chef Called Rhonda. I'm Rhonda, and this is my kitchen. Today, I'll be showing you how to make piselli e pasta, simply known in English as peas and pasta. Peas and pasta is a traditional Neapolitan classic entree. Super easy, super healthy, super delicious. Stay with me while I show you how to make piselli e pasta. First, I'd like to show you the ingredients for our piselli e pasta entree. We have 1 3/4 cup of dry rotini pasta. I choose the Barilla brand. Can you see that? When you're choosing the pasta shape for this entree, it's best if you use something that can catch the ingredients. Now, your other option is a fusilli or a cavatelli. I've chopped about a cup of red pepper, fresh red bell pepper. I have about 1 cup of grape tomatoes. I also have 4 finely chopped garlic. Can you see that? I wish you could smell it. Garlic cloves. And I have my piselli, also known as peas. And these are not fresh peas, although that would be optimal. I have just under 2 cups of frozen peas that I let come down to room temperature. And I'm not going to drain away the liquid. In addition to that, I have my spices. I'll be using today 1 teaspoon of red pepperoncino or crushed red pepper flakes. I will also be using about a teaspoon of dried parsley and just a hint of dried thyme. And my choice of the thyme is the French dried thyme. It just gives it a little bit more of a punch. And at the end, we will grate fresh Parmesan Reggiano cheese over the top to let it melt into our hot rotini. We'll combine all the ingredients and we'll have a wonderful entree to serve to the family. Okay, I will take my 10-inch stainless steel skillet. I've added 1 tablespoon of olive oil over medium heat. Incidentally, I do not use any salt, any added salt in this recipe. Parmesan Reggiano throws enough salt, and you don't want the power of salt to overwhelm the freshness from the tomato and the sweetness of the red pepper. So, to my hot skillet, I will add 4 freshly minced garlic. Let the garlic just turn an opaque and not to overcook or brown the garlic, because then it becomes bitter. It's enough so you can flavor the oil. Okay, so you're adding the crushed red pepper followed by the parsley and the French thyme to the heated pan with the garlic and the olive oil. It will render a bigger, bolder, more intense flavor. With the red pepper, and I'm just ever so gently going to, can you hear that? Can you hear the little sizzle? 1 teaspoon of that dried parsley. And actually this parsley was gifted from a neighbor. 1 teaspoon right to our garlic and red pepper flakes, also known as pepperoncino in Italian. About a 1/2 teaspoon of French thyme. Can you see that? Just about a 1/2 teaspoon. Now, okay, I have all of my spices rendering and simmering. And next, it's time to add our chopped red bell pepper. And you can really hear that sizzle now. The red pepper will offer a sweetness and offset the intense flavor from the garlic and the red pepperoncino. Okay, so we will add our grape tomatoes right to the pan. Anyone can make this recipe. Now, meanwhile, I'm going to just cook my grape tomatoes together. Let me bring this up nice and close. And I'm just going to warm them ever so slightly, because I'm making this entree in advance of the evening's meal so that all of these flavors can mesh together and become robust. Can you see that? Piselli and pasta. I like to call it red, white, and green over pasta, right? We have the red from the tomato and the pepper. We have the white from the cheese and the garlic, and the pasta will turn that nice bright white. And then to finish it off, we'll have the brightness from the frozen peas. And when we combined it all, it's one big bite, and the pea will engulf inside that rotini or the fusilli, whatever pasta shape you decide. Some folks even like to do it over linguine, and that's fine too. At this time, I have turned off my heating element, and I'm just letting my pan is just cooling down naturally. I have reduced the heat to nothing, and it's time to add my peas. Now, this is where you'll hear that big sizzle. These are frozen peas, fresh is best. However, my garden has not yielded those fresh peas at this moment. 1 3/4 cup of our frozen pea Piselli. I'm going over to the stove to cook our rotini. I like to cook the rotini al dente. Between 7 and 9 minutes, I'll drain it and I'll marry it together, and we'll have our entree. But the best part of this meal, the best part of piselli and pasta, is you can make it in the morning and keep it covered on the back of the stove until dinner time, and serve with a nice hunk of Italian bread with some plant-based butter, and you have yourself a complete meal. Okay, can you see that? So we're going to move our piselli over to our preparation area, and now it's time to cook off our rotini. And I'm just going to add my 2 cups of rotini, and I made mention earlier, I like to cook my rotini al dente so that it has a nice bite. It will sit once it's cooked with the peas, piselli and pasta. All the flavors will come together, and our pasta will still retain that good shape and with a big bite. So not to overcook the pasta, cooking al dente is the preferred method when making piselli and pasta. I'd like to take this time as we finish cooking off our rotini for our piselli and pasta to say thank you. First off, I want to say hi to all my subscribers. A big thank you for subscribing to A Chef Called Rhonda. From my kitchen to yours, these recipes come straight from the heart. I love answering all your comments, all your questions, and I hope that you can try this recipe. It's super fun, super healthy, and super delicious. And it's wonderful whether you're feeding 2, 4, or 6. It offers big flavor and world-class cooking in minutes. Mother taught me, and grandfather. Grandfather, traditionally in the Italian household, will take care of cooking the pasta. I guess it's like a guy barbecuing here in America, but the Italian guys, they like to handle the pasta cooking. So here's a little trick that Grandpa taught. So to the preparation skillet, my 10-inch skillet here that has my red, white, and green, I'm going to add at least, I want to say 3 big wooden spoonfuls. I have my trusty wooden spoon. It wouldn't be A Chef Called Rhonda if I wasn't working with my wooden spoon. Water, because that'll help make the sauce for the pasta, and it will make a nice creamy consistency because the water has a little bit of starch from the pasta. I drained the rotini, and I went ahead and I added the rotini to the peas. Now the hot rotini, and remember we added, with our trusty wooden spoon, we added 3 or 4 good heaping spoonfuls of the pasta water into our peas here. So our peas have now turned a bright green. I have a small spoon and my big spoon, and I'm just going to marry all of these nice ingredients, and everything is still warm and the pasta is not totally cooked through and through. It offers that nice shape. It retains its shape when you cook it al dente. It doesn't get all smushy. And I'm just going to work all those little ingredients through. Final step for a piselli and pasta before we have A Chef Called Rhonda's recipe recap. Grate with our grater Parmigiano Reggiano. Parmesan Reggiano. Parmesan cheese, dried. Okay, you can find this in your local grocer. It is a tad expensive, or you can use the Pecorino Romano. Pecorino Romano. Either one. And I'm just going to add a little bit on top, thus completing our red, white, and green entree. Red, white, and green stands for the Italian flag, right? Piselli and pasta will stay on top of the stove until we are ready to serve this evening. Okay, welcome back. A chef called Rhonda. It's time for a chef called Rhonda's recipe recap. Super easy, super healthy, and super delicious. Cheers to our piselli and pasta. Piselli and pasta originated in the Bay of Naples on the island of Ischia. It was meant to be a quick but flavorful meal. Just under 2 cups of rotini pasta. I had just under 2 cups of frozen peas coming down to room temperature naturally. I had 1 teaspoon of freshly dried parsley. I had minced 4 cloves of garlic, and I had a cup of grape tomatoes. Of that cup, the 1 cup of grape tomatoes, I chopped about 6 for texture and for presentation. Otherwise, I left them whole. I chopped 1 red bell pepper, medium size, into about 1-inch pieces. And then I added a 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, extra virgin, to my 10-inch skillet, which was over medium heat. I allowed the oil to get warm. I added my cloves of garlic, and I just gently heated that garlic through until it turned opaque, to which at that point I next added the sweet red bell pepper, followed by 1 teaspoon of red chili pepper flakes, followed by 1 teaspoon of freshly dried parsley, and about 1/4 teaspoon of French thyme. I let the garlic and the herbs mesh together over a medium heat. I always like to add the herbs to the hot skillet prior to any other ingredients, thus allowing the aroma to pop. After my herbs were heated through with the garlic and oil, I then added my red bell pepper. Grape tomatoes were then added. I let the grape tomatoes just cook until ever so soft. For the meal, you want to be able to serve this meal and have the grape tomato pop in your mouth, almost like a little secret of goodness. Then time to add the frozen peas, which had ideally came down to room temperature. I allowed the peas to cook for about a minute, grated all the ingredients together with my trusty wooden spoon. After all the ingredients were warmed through, I then cooked my rotini for about 7 to 9 minutes. Again, key component to the recipe is to keep your pasta al dente. I married the freshly drained pasta with my peas and tomato and red bell pepper mixture, and I made sure that I incorporated those ingredients until all the little bits of herbs and goodness were together. I then placed a cover on my skillet and I set it aside until dinner time. That's right, that's all it is. You can make this dinner at 11 o'clock in the morning and serve it 6 o'clock at night. The flavor, why? Because the ingredients start to mesh together. So at the end, here we are. This is the finished product, our piselli and pasta. I hope you enjoyed this cooking show today. Once again, please, if you haven't already subscribed to A Chef Called Rhonda, would you be open to subscribing? It would be greatly appreciated. And if you did watch this video all the way to the end or just halfway through, please give it a 2 big thumbs up. Hit that like button. Questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to either leave them down below or email me. My email's in the About Us section at our channel's homepage. Once again, thank you for watching A Chef Called Rhonda. As always, from my kitchen to yours, buon appetito. Bye.